Hi, I'm Natasha Bailie and I actually gave birth to my son via elective C-section. I was living in Singapore at the time and I actually miscarried before I had Max, and I miscarried at 15 weeks. I had to have a D&C operation, which is you go into surgery. It was hideous, it was traumatizing, and anyone who's been through a miscarriage will know it's just dark days, times. It's awful. And living in Singapore, it was just me and my husband. We were completely on our own, completely isolated. It was just a very hard time for us. I always just imagined I would be very go with the flow, trust the doctors about the way I should give birth. I was so lucky to get pregnant quite soon after with Max, and I would not believe I was pregnant for about 20 weeks. It was really hard. I wouldn't talk about it, I wouldn't buy anything. It was really hard. Oh God. Anyway, and I feel really bad now because obviously I have Max and it's hard to look back on that time and think of it really sadly. 20 weeks passed and I remember having a scan. They do monthly scans in Singapore, which is phenomenal. But I remember at 20 weeks, I just had this like epiphany moment. I am going to have an elective C-section. I need as much control about how this baby comes into the world safely and quickly as possible. I remember telling my doctor I want an elective C-section. I didn't understand the process. I didn't know if you had to ask or demand it. And he said that I was healthy and that I should really try for a natural birth, and that he would ask me over the next coming months of pregnancy up to 4 times until we would agree. And I remember I had a midwife as well, same midwife throughout my pregnancy, and she was British, and she said please read this book before you make your decision. And it was called 12 Positive Birth Stories, and I remember just looking at her being like, why are there only 12? So the process was you could choose the day and the time, and it was a very convenient birth. But actually that worked out really well for us because we were in Singapore, so we were trying to like arrange family to come visit, and it was really tricky, so that really helped. On the morning, I remember we had to get there at 6 AM. He was due to come out about 8:15, so I was getting prepped for theatre at 8, and it was just so calm, so peaceful. It was just me, my husband, and I remember just waiting to go into theatre, and I was on my own at this point because Ian was getting scrubbed up. Just like, well, what better way for a baby to come into the world? Like, this is totally the way it should be. So it was totally right for me. And then about 15 minutes later, I had a baby. I held him while they stitched me up for about 3 minutes. Then I gave him to Ian while I went to sit in recovery for about an hour. I think because I'd known about the elective C-section, I know that that was the process and that was the way it was going to be. I'd kind of made my peace with that I wouldn't have that immediate skin on skin. And then we had a bouncing baby boy, and that is where the actual trouble started. It's so funny because as soon as they're out, you don't even think about how they got here. You're too busy wondering what to do next.